everybody's favorite drama video. Yay! So this one's for you, King Wuji of server 554. You dropped into the stream the other day. Yeah, whenever I streamed last, I've only did two of those. Absolute beast, 177 million power, 72 million merits. Server 554, you were Phenom the other day in the stream, I believe. So you asked when's the next drama video. So I guess I will drop it now. So this one's going to be in two parts here. So part one's going to be about drama that happened a few weeks ago. And then part two is going to be on the current situation of the KVK. So I didn't want to do part one here, and I was going to avoid doing part one here, but this popped up recently today, and so I just want to address what's happening with Divi. So Don't Migrate here runs has lost 5 R4s this season alone due to his behavior and drama. Soon after we spoke, he and a few others also betrayed myself and spread rumors about my real life all over other servers. Okay, so I'm going to explain kind of the situation that happened while leaving out as much detail as I possibly can so you can still get a picture, because this is her personal life. Whatever's happening, we don't know the full story. We just have to deal with things in the moment, right? That's kind of how kingdoms deal with things, and I don't really like drama. We're not here. This isn't Call of Drama. The game's Call of Drama, basically, but we're trying to have no-nonsense kind of servers. So what happened was on October 19th, I get this sent to me. So this is between an Alliance member and someone else claiming to be an R4 in our server that ended up having another Alliance member's phone number. So, hey, it's Cody Cobart, so that's who we're talking about here. But to answer your question about selling an account, right? Okay, so this is how the Alliance member said, and then they're like, you know, WTF, dude. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to talk to them sooner than expected. Price just went up for you, JK. What this is about is part one got sent to me, and I contacted Cobart because him and I used to talk on Discord all the time. So, and I know that he used Discord on his phone. So, as far as what I was told was they were currently out for dinner, and we really didn't want to bother them at dinner. So, I think it was Runs ended up just sending them a message being like, hey, when you get home from dinner, can you please contact us? And I sent in game, I sent, I was like, hey, Cody, I know something's up. Like, when you get home, when you're not available, let's do a phone call. And so, we're in Discord. Yeah, this is the hard part. This is the hard part about this whole thing, and like, how much do I want to spread? We're in Discord, and it's myself and Runs are sitting in the call, and Cobart joins. And this is so hard because him and I were just becoming such good friends after the whole Max incident and him losing that friend. Cody and I were just becoming such good friends, and I enjoyed every time talking to him. I mean, we had times where I was talking to him, and I was just on the floor laughing. Like, he's the one of the funniest guys I've ever talked to. We would joke around, and we would just have some incredible times just talking and hanging out on the phone. And we all knew that him and Divi were married in real life. Uh, so, and I was becoming close to both of them, right? Not just Cody, but I talked to Divvy quite often on the phone as well. And as of an evening, typically, every other evening, Cody and I were sitting on the phone chatting, and it was just a grand old time. So he comes on incredibly upset. He comes on talking about them in their personal life and personal matters, what was going on with their personal relationship. He was on for he was on for about 2 minutes, and he was so upset at the situation that was unfolding. He was just completely, you could just hear it. He was completely destroyed. Like, um yeah, yeah. So I heard it directly from Cody, what was happening and what was going on. He told me in those 2 minutes, and then the next day on October 20th, he said, "Hey man, do you have time for a call?" You know, and I said, "Absolutely, brother. Like, you let me know what time, and we'll sit on the phone and we'll chat." Okay. Can I pull this up without seeing anything else? I hope so. Maybe not. I don't want to show any of our screenshots together. I don't want to show any of our conversations. So we talked, and we wrote to each other and all of that kind of stuff. So the drastic measure that I took on the 19th was Zeno at the same time was messaging people in the alliance about what was going on with Cody and Divvy's personal life. So Zeno was another R4, and we're saying to, like, Zeno, it's not appropriate what he was saying. He was bad mouthing Cody. He was sending a bunch of messages, and not just to Cody, but to several different alliance members. And his actions, his words, all of that kind of stuff was inappropriate. It crossed the line. He was creating drama for the server, and him and myself had already butt heads for Roots of War a week beforehand, or whatever. So he was already not in my good graces, and everyone knows that I can be a hothead at times. So what I ended up doing, and for how vulgar how vulgar Zeno was, and just how disrespectful, and his poor judge of character, it just absolutely was disgusting, what he was talking about and saying. So my choice, this was me. Don't take this as anyone else but me. This was all me. Um, you know, Here we go. Here's a picture of me. So you can be like, okay, this was me. Don't blame runs, don't blame anyone else on the alliance. It was my choice and call for the final punishment, and my punishment to Zeno was to be kicked out of the alliance. So myself, as well as a few other R4s, did surround Zeno's city. We did burn his city, and we did kick him out of the alliance, as well as using the banishment skill. Which, I mean, I wish it did more than that. I wish we could, like, force him out of the server better. But that was the punishment for Zeno. So for what was happening with Cody and Divvy, because this was affecting their personal life, this was affecting other members, this had become a server issue. It wasn't just isolated to those two members. Their relationship in the real world, it had spilled into the game, and now everyone's starting to get involved. Multiple players are getting involved, and you can't say I'm lying there, because it was an issue with several different players. So we decided to write them and be like, hey, you're still members of the team. However, we're just going to make you R3s till everything gets solved and the drama's kind of behind us. right? That's all that was happening. Um, Now, of course, Divi took offense to that and ended up leaving the alliance and joining the same alliance as Xeno. And the in-game account from Cody started getting really weird in the messages that they were writing, because they're writing me something and then also texting runs in Discord at the same time, and just the emotional state between the two were completely separated. So yeah, we ended up moving Divi down to R3, and Cody was left in R4 actually. And we were like, just like once this calms down, now the next day Cody started going off. He started not calming down. He started creating more drama. So we're like, okay, Cody, you need a timeout. We moved him to R3 as well. So both of them got really offended by that. They're creating a bunch of drama for the server. So we said, just hold up. You guys just need to take a few days and figure out what's going on, and then we'll bring you back into R4. However, Cody then left the alliance as well. And so now they're on a vendetta, but I mean, the vendetta's against Runs for some reason. And so, yes, Runs is one of those players where you either love him or you hate him kind of idea. A lot of people don't like him, and I get it, but he's really good at what he does. He's really good at talking with players. He's really good at, migration and, sliding into people's DMs. But, yeah, I can see people having issues with him outside of that. Yeah. So that's what they mean by we lost 5 R4s. I'm not sure who the 5th one is. So yeah, those were 3 R4s, and they were creating all the drama. Like, the drama in our server, what's there been about 2 incidences that I know of, and like one was people were merit trading and somebody brought mages and sniped them from the back, and the one person got really upset with that. So outside of the R4s causing drama, this is what we were dealing with, was the R4s were causing drama, and the entire server was getting along. I mean, we have SKN and ES members and 658 members here, and they weren't causing any drama. No, this was a fresh start for everyone. And we were all getting along so well, except for the R4s were causing all of the drama. So something had to be done. We had to look at, or I had to look at replacing R4 members. Like, okay, you guys either need to calm down, or we need to do something about replacing you in the R4s. Because my goal here for Vex is not to have a drama just full of, not to have a server just full of drama. So that's basically part 1 of what happened. Do I have any other screenshots for that? Oh no. Oh yeah. So yeah, right now, from my understanding, is Divi is working with the current king of 629. But 629, I was like, wait, weren't those the ones that just had the Civil War? And Runs was like, yep, because I remember watching the Civil War like a week ago with Runs. Because their leadership, yeah, that's the one where 629, the guy that owned 629, ended up passing R5, which never pass R5 to someone you don't fully trust. And so he ended up breaking the deal. I can't remember the entire drama of it. Asked me like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Would have remembered, but yeah, today I don't really remember all the drama that happened on 629. But they're breaking apart. Their main R5 has now left to 619, and I currently believe that when I looked at talking to other players, what was it, Gene? Is that his name? Right now, everything's kind of on a knife's edge with the server. I know. Oh, why did I hit space? Oh, stupid me. Because what I'm trying to get at is apparently a lot of people are afraid of being burnt there with TK. So under this new leadership, I guess everyone's kind of on a knife's edge and everybody's walking on eggshells because he's like, we're a no nonsense drama server. But I guess Gene's like threatening to kick and burn people, so yeah, I guess it's a pretty toxic place right now to sit. I mean, good for them for still winning their season after the server, civil war or whatever happened. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with TK, see how many members actually migrate out. So, I'm not too in the loop with all of that. It's just that's what I've heard as rumors is the people that are currently in the server right now, a bunch of people are like, we're extremely cautious of what we say or what we do because we don't want to get burnt. So, yeah, that's kind of part one there of the whole drama that happened with Divi. I mean, both Divi and Cody left of their own accord. It's not that we kicked them out, it's that you gave them a little timeout and they took offense to that. So, whatever. If that's what they want to do, then that's what they want to do, right? And what's ever happening in their real life, it's their business. I don't know the full story. I don't know anything like that. All I know is from what Cody told me directly. And then it got into a he said, she said kind of issue. It was becoming very toxic and hostile, which we did not need as part of the R5 rotation for the Alliance. We didn't need it to be stuck in a bunch of drama. So, part 2 now of all of the drama for our season. Yay! More drama. Now, I mean, honestly, we haven't had drama for like 3 weeks after that. Like I said, the Alliance has been doing really well. So, this part is going to be over a life lesson that I learned the hard way. You're only as good as the day that you work. Let me repeat that. You're only as good as the day that you work. Okay? So, with SKN here, let me just tell you with SKN here, you're only as good. This is Wolf, their secondary alliance. You're only as good as the day that you're part of SKN. As soon as you leave SKN, you are dead to them. So I took a lot of flack coming to 646 early. And now that Will, and I didn't tell anyone really the reason for that. There's only a handful of people that kind of knew why I actually came to 646 early. And it all has to do with a friend. Will. So, it all has to do with Will here. Will was my friend in SKN, so I have several friends from SKN. Taro, Queen, Ting, Cody, sorry, not Cody, Magic, and Ogre, right? So there's a group of us from SKN that came to 646. What kind of happened there with Will was during Season 2, there was a group of people, and mainly 2 people, that ended up getting under Will's skin, and they had a fight in Alliance chat, and they went off on Will and egged Will on, and so they're just trying to create as much drama as possible. And this group was openly recruiting for Wawa's server 671, and I'm not going to be upset or offended by anyone going to 671. I talk about them all the time on this channel, right? Like every video I bring them up. So if you want to migrate there, absolutely. I hope that you do, and I hope that everything goes well for you. So what ended up happening was Will gets upset, and everyone comes and, you know, uh, Will ends up leaving the Alliance and surrounding this guy's city because of what he's saying and the vulgar things that he's saying about people with autism and veterans and, you know, Will being an American veteran, he took offense to this, right? And so what ended up happening is that group, I believe it was 3 days later, it was about 72 hours later, ends up migrating, and there's a chunk of them left SKN, went to 671. So their goal was to openly recruit and cause as much drama before they left. Great. Well, Will wasn't allowed back into SKN after that because of the fight he had with this person. Okay. So it got to the point where I eventually messaged Levi and I said, "Can you please just let Will back into the Alliance?" Like it was all clearly a spy, it was clearly a trap. Will fell for the trap. Yes, he shouldn't have, but it happened. So I messaged, and so Will got back into the Alliance. And then 2 days later, in server time, I was going for some chests. I only had 2 free legions, and I was like, "Oh, hey, anyone want to quickly help me get these chests?" And Will was like, "Yeah, sure, I will." And then I noticed he was in the secondary alliance, and I was like, "Why are you in the secondary alliance?" And he's like, "Well, Levi wrote me and was like, we're at a room in the main alliance. I'm demoting you to the secondary alliance." And that's not the only person he did it to. He also did it to Athena. And because I remember her complaining to me as well, writing me right here, writing me and being like, Levy also did the same thing to her because he thought that she was leaving the alliance in the server. So he moved her to the secondary alliance as well. So Will was like, "Dude, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore." So that's why during the start of season 3, we ended up going to 646 because Runs, being the cheeky guy he is, when Will asked to migrate early, I wanted to stay until closer to the end of the season, but Runs was like, "Well, if Atlas comes with you, I'll let you migrate right away instead of waiting for the migration period for when everyone's going to migrate so you guys can get in early." So instead of fighting, arguing, anything else like that, I ended up relocating to Vex 646, and that's why I came here early. So all the flack that I took, I ended up skipping a season, and I did that for a friend and joining Vex early. So it was basically, it was John and his group with Suede, Nix, a group of us, and then myself and Will came to 646 early. So that's how that all kind of happened. Now, cut to this season, we make an alliance with SKN. Now, the entire time leading up to SOS 1, I was the only person that was constantly like, "Hey, we should make an alliance with SKN. Like, I know them really well. I vouched for them," all of this kind of stuff. And I was breaking my neck and just going crazy about, like, every time they're like, the rest of the R4s, there was not another R4 wanted to ally with SKN because they felt it provided zero advantage for us. So they're all like, "No, let's not ally with SKN." And I was like, "No, let's ally with them." So in the end, we ended up deciding to ally with them. We had a partnership where I don't believe warbands are allowed in SOS 1, but they might be allowed in SOS 2 for other servers. But what we had planned out is, like, we were going to, they're going to take this necro, they're going to take this necro. Like, we're dividing what we're going to give them, what gates we're going to give them, and rewards and stuff like that. So we're dividing it and all of that, which is totally great. Everything's working great. There was a big group chat between all of our R4s or most of our R4s, most of their R4s. Everything was totally going fine. Part of the deal was that we were supposed to do some fighting. So the deal was that we would claim this spire, and they would have this spire here, and that the middle area was a war zone. So you're allowed to, I mean, this the whole area was a war zone, but in the middle was you could build any alliance towers you want. They were supposed to build keeps and all of that kind of stuff, and we were to fight. So that was part of our deal, was to be able to fight. Now, first day of fighting, I missed the beginning, but apparently they did some like you know, just poking. So they're poking their builders, that kind of stuff. And then Pupa ended up running a TP project where they ended up practicing using staff TP. So they TP'd from here, over here, and then attacked them from behind instead of just force attacking them here. So they did that, and then after they finished the fight, Vex ended up backing off and regrouping, and we grouped back here because we had nothing in the center, right? This was all SKN kind of stuff. I joined in for the second push, right? So this time when fighting SKN, what I ended up doing is, first off, I ended up sacrificing 1,000 troops. Just killing them, like letting them just kill 1,000 troops, whatever. Let's have some fun, right? I was so excited to have a bit of war, have a bit of fun. Let's, trade some merits. Let's have a good old time. So we ended up doing the second push, and then we pushed over top of their path here, and we pushed into their territory here. Now, as we were backing out, that's when SKN turned into keyboard warriors. And so they were, people were talking and people were a bit upset and everything like that because they didn't get much merits from this process. So, okay, until Lady Muna chimed in. And then that's when things divulged really bad between the two servers into what has now happened. Lady Muna said, I am going back to Zone 1 to farm, and we are not, or I am not, going to participate in any more fighting. And she's an R4 saying that, speaking basically for SKN, that they're not going to fight us anymore. So they're going to break their agreement with us, right? I was asking Levi, because we were such good friends, build a keep. Like, we'll wait for you guys to build a keep. And they're like, no, we don't have time. And I was like, I've got 30 other Vex members in a call here. And then they're like, you have way more T5s than we do. And I was like, it's myself and Melchit are the only two T5s that are currently fighting up here with you. And you had Levi, which is a T5. So we had two T5s to one. The rest of our players are T4s. What are you talking about? We brought so many T5s. So they started lying, slandering. They started saying, like, this wasn't friendly for what you did. And it was like, this was agreed upon. We fought underneath their spire to help them. We only pushed here and pushed into here. And then we left to regroup. And, yeah. So that's when they then started calling me names and calling me arrogant and that I've changed and now we're enemies and we were never friends, and they went off and said all this petty stuff like that. So, me being a hothead that I am and always will be, you upset me, give me 30 minutes and I'll cool off. But, if we're not friends, and we were never friends, that means you used me for my T5 status. You used me to try and help your recruitment. So you are only using my power to try and help your server in its recruitment. So we're not friends. We've never been friends. Okay, so if we're not friends, then why have I been busting my balls to try and create an alliance pact between the two servers? Why have I been sticking my neck out and vouching for you? And why have I been protecting you? So there's no need for me to protect you from Vex. There's no need for me to hold back anymore. So you can accuse me of being arrogant, everything like that. You've seen the videos that I did calling out Bren and stuff like that, and it's a bit of a show. But absolutely I can be, right? That's not a problem. All the insults that they slung at me, not a problem, except for one that I do have. They said that I have changed, and that's where I had a big issue. Because I am the same person that I was yesterday. I'm the same person I was the day before yesterday, which is the same person today, which is the same person tomorrow. I am Atlas, and I bring this up quite often. I'm the one who burnt down 666 over Zuko, who was my friend in game. I burnt down an entire server for Zuko because the Moshi 23 stole R5 from him, and I didn't like how the Moshi's character, it had nothing to do with him being a good R5. He was a better R5 than Zuko. Absolutely, I'll say that. But this was a friend, right? Now, Wings of Change, 1.4 billion power, 666. I wiped it off the map. I burnt down an entire alliance, burnt down an entire server. I threw out the gameplay of everyone else in the server for Zuko. And I went against the Moshi 23 because of his poor character. Okay, right? That doesn't seem like a hard concept to get behind. So I did all of that for my friend. I did as much as I could for my friends. Right? So when it came to Season 2, going into Season 3 now, with Will, and he wanted to migrate, I took as much flack. You could go back on my YouTube videos, and you can see how many times did people comment, I shouldn't have gone to 646 when I did. But I did it for Will. So my character to me and my friends have come above all that other stuff, right?
Do not give in to temptation. We shall greet the new.
You know, when I had a fight with Akashi and Tanky because they broke an agreement with me, what did I do? Said my piece with them, and I blocked them, just like how I've blocked all the other SKN members that were talking to me. Levi I've blocked, Athena I've blocked, whatever, Stotus I blocked, right? These SKN members, I've blocked them. What did I do? When I knew 666 couldn't be repaired and replenished because I knew about 50 people were migrating out, I helped create Vex. Oh, I didn't. No, Max and Runs created Vex. Okay, let's get that clear. But, you know, I went to Vex and created a new home where my friends could join me, and now I have a bunch of friends that have all migrated here, a bunch of us from SKN. I created a server where all of our friends and stuff like that could be reunited, and we could all have fun in hopefully a fairly drama-free server. So that's kind of what I've created. That's what's being created here. That's what's the goal here. So yeah, it broke down our relationship, saying that we've never been friends, saying that I've changed. I haven't changed, right? I still do what I can for my friends when I can. But now that we're no longer friends, my goal is, and hopefully, Bot will help accomplish this because he's our builder. But we'll take Vex 2 to smash the level 4 gate, right? And come in here to level 2 gate. Because guess what? The last 2 weeks of the server, level 2 passes are opened. So my goal and hope is to move our secondary alliance to take the north hand side of the map, push from this level 4 gate into this level 2 gate, and then we take Vex and we push around the south side of the map. Come here, uh, and then come and take the Necro, come through the south side of the map, and stop SKN from running down. And the last 2 weeks of the server, we push into their zone 1, we try and push them out of the rest of the map, and we burn them down. That's my personal goal. That's what I would love to see happen. Might not happen. It depends on what's best for the server, what's best for rewards, everything else like that. That would just be my own vendetta from them saying we've never been friends, they were just using me, all that kind of stuff. If that's all they want to do, we have, since their accounts are older than mine, they've had what, like 200 days in the game? Let's see this. So I've had 188, so they've had, yeah, 200 days in the game, and they still don't want to fight. All they want to do is sit in Zone 1 and farm. You've had 200 days in the game, and you still just want to play Farming Simulator? No, no. We'll bring the fight to you, and I hope, and I really hope that I do get a chance to burn their cities down. Even Athena, you know, who did video editing for me, that I'm super appreciative that she did. You know, if that's what you want to say, if you want to just go be a keyboard warrior, then go be a keyboard warrior. I'm really hoping that we can stop SKN from getting most rewards on the map that we can. And that's my 2 cents of that. That's my 2 cents of dealing with SKN. But of course, that's why I'm not in charge, because my whole goal would be just to burn SKN down. And, you know, if you want to farm, go back to the home kingdom and farm. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with ETNL, whether they'll push up the south for us. We'll see what happens and what the rest of the alliance leaders want to do. Obviously, the prosperity of the alliance comes first. And we have to figure out how to maximize rewards for us, how to maximize gate rewards, you know, getting the dragon, everything like that. That comes as first priority, and then next priority is going to be pushing in to SKN Zone 1. So yeah, SKN, you know, and I asked Poopa here. I said, hey Poopa, in Season 3 with SKN, because I remember them being on call complaining about SKN to me the one time, you guys had an agreement where they were to build to the bridge and they did not. Is that correct? Poopa, yes. So I just wanted to confirm that. Like, they broke their deal with 658, then they broke their deal with us as soon as they get a chance to. You know, how do you trust these people? How do you trust their word? I mean, personally, I really can't. So, you know, after what they said with me, and like, I was like, oh man, I, it really crushed me. Having people that you've just spent the last, what, 90 days talking to, just be like, hey man, I never considered you a friend. Like, and then, like, you know, start slandering you and everything like that. Go right ahead, say whatever you want to say about me, but the one thing that I do cherish in this game is doing what I can for my friends when I can. So yeah, that's kind of the divulge of what happened. So yeah, Divvy and Cody left the alliance of their own accord. So that was kind of that situation there. Whatever they do, I wish the best for them. I mean, I think that they're fantastic. I really enjoyed talking with them, you know, every other night. Fantastic people. So I mean, no disrespect or anything like that to them, and I tried to keep this limited with the information, but Xeno's poor character and the amount of drama that he was creating, no, no. And, you know, he was bringing their public life into the alliance and messaging members. Can't have that happen. So he was the one creating the drama and making it public. No, he had to go, in my opinion, and I still stand behind that 3 weeks later, right? Because the 19th was, yeah, so we're just over 2 weeks, right? And then the whole SKN thing, right? Like, we're going to be looked, and how it looks to the rest of people is we're bullying because their power's lower than ours, right? They're at 5, They were 5 billion last time I checked, and we're at 7.6, right? So yeah, we'll look like we're the bullies. You know, we had an agreement, we upheld our agreement, and they didn't uphold theirs. So, you know, then they wanted to go and try and slander us and do all that kind of stuff. You're more than welcome to. I know there's people like Will who have a bunch more dirt on SKN. That doesn't matter, but so yeah, our agreement, our terms were broken, and so I guess since we've never been friends and we're not allies, then we'll see what happens and where the rest of the season goes. So there you go, Phenom. Hopefully this wasn't too boring. I know I didn't have much to look at during the video, but I was mostly just talking about how I see that. So I guess my little quick recap with the SKN thing then is going forward, since they broke their deal with Vex, since they broke their deal with 658 the Penguins, why wouldn't they end up just breaking their deal as soon as they can with any other server that they team up with? Maybe another server will have better luck, but now they've set a precedent where they've broken their alliance agreement with 2 other servers, so that doesn't really look good for them in the future. So I would just be cautious if you are planning on partnering up with them, you know, in SOS2, you know, plus, right? If you're making an agreement with SKN, just be very weary, you know, that you guys don't end up getting burnt or hurt in the end.
Rise of the fallen, rise of the fallen, rise of the fallen.